ever feel like you're doing everything right, working longer than everyone else, showing up earlier, staying later, and somehow still falling behind? Like no matter how much effort you pour in, the results just don't match the sacrifice. You're exhausted, your days blur together, and while you're grinding yourself into the ground, you watch others move ahead, calm, confident, almost effortlessly. They don't look smarter, they don't look more talented, yet somehow they're winning. And the hardest part, you tell yourself, if I just push a little harder, it'll pay off. But what if that belief isn't noble at all? What if it's quietly training you to stay stuck? If you've ever felt tired of being tired, if you've ever wondered why hard work alone doesn't seem to work anymore, this story will change how you see effort, success, and progress. Stay with me. Because the most dangerous mistake isn't laziness, it's exhausting yourself in the wrong direction. In a quiet farming valley, where land was passed down through generations, lived a farmer named Daniel. Daniel was 33 years old. He owned a small piece of land his father had worked before him. It wasn't much. But to Daniel, it represented pride, responsibility, identity. It also carried pressure. If the farm failed, there was no backup plan. Above all else, Daniel believed in one thing: hard work. Every morning he woke up before sunrise. He worked until the sky went dark. He refused shortcuts, refused help, refused rest. "My father built this farm with his hands," he would say, "and I'll do the same." His hands were cracked and bleeding, his back ached constantly. At night he collapsed into bed, too tired to eat properly, too tired to talk, too tired to live. His wife, Emma, watched this quietly at first. Then one night she said, "Daniel, you're giving everything you have. But what happens if this still isn't enough?" Daniel shook his head. "Success requires sacrifice. I just need to work harder." Next to Daniel's land lived another farmer named Mark. Same age, same size farm, similar starting resources, but Mark worked differently. He started later in the morning, finished by early afternoon. Spent evenings reading, walking, resting, and somehow Mark's farm produced nearly double. This haunted Daniel. While Daniel worked 15-hour days barely breaking even, Mark's fields looked healthier, fuller, alive. Daniel told himself stories to cope. Mark must have been lucky. Maybe he had connections, maybe it wouldn't last. Still, the question kept returning at night. How could someone who worked less earn more? Then came a difficult season. A shortage of water spread across the valley. Every farmer faced the same problem. Daniel responded the only way he knew how. He woke up even earlier, worked even longer. He carried water bucket by bucket from a distant well, knowing every wasted drop mattered. His body screamed for rest, but he ignored it. "Hard work never fails," he repeated to himself, even as his hands shook. Meanwhile, Mark adjusted his systems, changing schedules, conserving resources, losing almost nothing. Daniel noticed and felt the sting of it, but pride kept him silent. Asking for help felt like admitting failure. On the 12th day of this routine, Daniel collapsed. One moment he was standing. The next, the bucket slipped from his hands, spilling water into the dirt. He dropped to his knees, dizzy, heart racing, unable to catch his breath. For the first time, fear cut through his stubbornness. What if this is how it ends? On the ground, alone, having proven nothing, Emma found him there. Later, the doctor's words were blunt. "If you keep this up, you won't see next season. Not because of the farm, because your body won't survive it." That night, lying awake, Daniel felt something unfamiliar. Defeat, not from the land, not from circumstances, but from the realization that the belief guiding his life might be wrong. "I worked harder than everyone," he whispered. "So why does it feel like I'm losing my life instead of building it?" Emma squeezed his hand and said quietly, "Maybe effort isn't the problem. Maybe direction is." A few days later, Daniel did something he had avoided for years. He walked to Mark's farm. Mark listened as Daniel finally asked the question he feared. "How do you work less and get more?" Mark didn't answer immediately. Instead, he picked up two tools, one worn and dull, the other sharp. "Imagine two people cutting wood," Mark said. "One swings all day without stopping, the other pauses to sharpen." He handed Daniel the dull tool. Daniel struck again and again. The progress was slow, painful. "This is what real work looks like," Daniel muttered. Then Mark swung the sharp one. With ease, the wood split. "You've been swinging non-stop," Mark said gently. "But you never sharpened." Daniel stood silent. For the first time, the truth landed without a fight. Mark explained 3 lessons Daniel had never learned. First, systems beat effort. You exhausted yourself repeating what could have been handled once. Second, focus beats hustle. You tried to do everything. That's why nothing felt excellent. Third, rest is strategy. You weren't just tired, you were blind. Exhaustion hid better choices from you. Then Mark said the sentence Daniel would never forget. "You're not failing because you don't work hard enough. You're failing because hard work is the only tool you use." Daniel went home changed and scared. Working less felt wrong at first, uncomfortable, almost irresponsible. But the next day he tried. He worked fewer hours but thought more. He planned, he researched, he simplified. Slowly the fear faded, clarity replaced it. For the first time in years, he had dinner with Emma. He slept, he felt clear. Months later, the results spoke. Daniel worked nearly half the hours he used to, yet produced more than ever before. Not because he suffered more, but because every hour had purpose. Mark visited one evening and smiled. "You learned," he said. Daniel nodded. "This isn't just a farming story. It's about anyone who believes exhaustion equals progress. Here's the truth most people never hear. Hard work is necessary, but it's not enough. If you never stop to think, you'll spend your life proving how much pain you can tolerate instead of building something that lasts. Before you work harder, ask yourself, is there a smarter way? Stop swinging the dull axe. It's time to sharpen." And now one final thought. If you removed exhaustion from your life, who would you be without it? Would you still feel valuable? Or has being tired become the proof you're doing enough? Sit with that. Because the goal isn't to work until you break. It's to build something that doesn't require you to. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want more stories that change the way we see life, subscribe and stay with us. Thank you for listening.